Welcome,
again.
everybody. Today it is AI and CX in your conversation. We'll skip that first 5 minutes and we'll get going. So what we're going to lean toward is a good overview of how AI and automation are being used in CX. And of course, tomorrow that will change. More will be added to the menu of things to change. And then we're going to have some sections where hopefully you guys will engage and ask some questions, and more than just questions, maybe offer up some examples of what you're doing, because that is the only way this information is getting around. Everyone's talking to each other, everyone's bouncing ideas all over the place. I'm going to give you some examples of what some very successful people have already done. We can, of course, beg, borrow, and steal from every one of those examples. And then I'm going to focus on what I think is the single most important aspect of all of this, and that's at the end. So that sounds like a promo to stay to the end. That's not how I meant it, but you'll understand what I mean when I get to the end. All right, so here's the topic. It's AI-powered efficiency, customer experience. How can AI transform your workforce and your customer interactions? That's my information. If anyone wants a copy of this presentation, send me an email. I will put this email up again at the end of the presentation. But if you want a copy of this presentation, let me know. I will send it to you. And if you want any of the links to any of the things that I'm talking about, I will, of course, send those to you as well. My phone number and etc. is on there. So the point, I picked this picture. Actually, I had this picture created for me. And I said, put up a friendly AI picture, because all the other AI pictures are scary and technical and robotic and all that kind of thing in there. So I got some of those too. But the point is, how are we going to use AI to improve customer experience, and how are we going to humanize the people in our organizations? Because if it just becomes technical, we all know what happens. People shut down. They start participating. So here's our objective. Brief introduction to AI in business, and then some specific objectives, underneath that. You can get the cameras out of the way here. So understand AI's impact on efficiency and customer experience, those two pieces. Explore real-world applications of what's actually happening and identify some AI opportunities in your business. Hopefully you will see those when we come up with some of the case. I'm going to go through, I have more case studies that we can go through today, but I'll quickly go through them, and if you want to lock into them, we can do that. Okay. Just checking. Okay. So the definition of AI and intelligent automation, that is a widely expanding definition. This is how I define it. It's using automation, of course, that has existed forever, intelligent automation being enhanced by the human experience and the appearance or reality of cognitive thinking. So it looks like it's thinking. It's not really thinking, of course, but it looks pretty damn close to thinking. So that's what intelligent automation is all about. And of course, automation is anything that can happen once you program it or tell it to go forward and do things. That's what we're talking about, and a variety of different tools. The picture on the side of the slide on the right is not just there gratuitously. It's to say, in the future, we'll of course all still be humans, but we will be, and when I say the future, that's tomorrow morning, we will all massively be enhanced by the capability of AI. Some of us will be replaced, but most of us will be massively enhanced by the capabilities of AI. And if we do this right, we will bring forth the heroism of the human being and let the robot do all the other stuff that's not so heroic. So we're going to talk about three areas: employee productivity, customer satisfaction, and operational efficiency. You might say employee productivity and operational efficiency are the same thing. They're not, but they're closely related, of course. Is how many people do we have to do every task? So what is AI for employee efficiency? The picture on the right is, one employee doing 500 things, right? Well, that is effectively what 500 is, an exaggeration. An employee who appears to be doing a huge number of things and doing them well is what AI enables people to do. The employee actually is not doing many, many things well, but the technology is supporting that. The second piece is AI-powered decision support. So how do you make decisions based on what has already happened in the past? So if you have a whole bunch of information about your business and you need to make a decision going forward, that's one of the biggest powers of AI. In the past 100 times we've done this, these are the kinds of decision areas that we took, and simplifying that, whereas no human being can retain all of that history in their brain. And enhancing collaboration with AI-driven tools. And that collaboration is between other people It's between people and agents. And now I don't mean an agent like a customer service agent. I mean an AI agent, which if I were going to write two things down to say the future will be fundamentally defined by ... I would say AI agent. Sean, I'm going to let you admit people into the conference. I see the names popping up. Okay. So let's talk about AI for customer experience. There are lots of different things that can be included. These three are pretty important. And by the way, all three of these pictures I had generated by AI. And what I said on the picture on the left was, give me hyper personalization, so personalized recommendations, exactly what this person is all about, this guest at this hotel, this client on my mobile phone company, this person who's done graphic arts with us before. So hyper personalized recommendations. It wouldn't let me use Harry Potter, but it gave me one that was pretty close to Harry Potter, where the wand seller picks exactly the right wand for the wizard, if you've seen those movies. Then the middle one is AI chatbots for customer support. So we've all used various forms of chatbots. And the early forms of chatbots were very much scripted. If they say this, you say that. If they say this, you say that. And that's why they were so clunky and kludgy. But with AI chatbots now, both trained either on a public environment, public data, or trained on the data from your own company, those AI chatbots are able to use the power of large language models, which basically just means boatloads of information, and actually sound and respond much more like a human. If any of you have not gone into ChatGPT and typed things into the prompt bar that are, you're not really trying to get an answer, just go into ChatGPT and type, I've been thinking about taking a vacation in the western part of the United States. What are your thoughts? That's the kind of thing a chat can handle. And then when it gives you Sedona, Arizona, San Francisco, and whatever, someplace in Cheyenne, Wyoming, ask more and more questions. So a chatbot today is enabled by a much broader range of information, or the chatbot can be enabled very specifically on information from your company, your service, for example, the services that you provide. And then the third piece is sentiment analysis. Now, I know most of the people whose faces I would recognize on this call are in the CX space. And so you know what sentiment analysis is. That's the Van Gogh looking picture. So I started with give me a picture of a woman who is perceiving what the feelings and emotions of the things around them. And then I typed in, no, make it look like Vincent Van Gogh painted it. And first I said, put up her fingers like she's sensing the blowing of the wind. And then I said, put the hand by her ear, and this is what you got. So that's another issue about how to create documents. But the point of sentiment analysis is how to figure out, what are your customers thinking? What are the people who are providing you feedback thinking? And then, of course, what should you do about how they think, right? When you do X, Y, and Z, they're happy. When you do PDQ, they're very unhappy, and how to put those two together. That's a simplified version. So now I'm going to take you through, just to get really specific, how do we do those three things? Let me go back to that page. How do we do these three things here? And then how do we talk about these things here? Employee efficiency, and then how do we actually work on helping the customer? Because when the employee is more efficient, of course the customer gets better service. But then how do we actually deliver on these points, these nice little pictures? I don't know how many of you know in each one of these individual technologies. Monkey Learn is one of the industry-leading tools for sentiment analysis of customer feedback. Now, what does that mean? It means you feed information into Monkey Learn about what your customers have said. You can train it on your own information. So here's all the feedback we got from the customer. And then you tell Monkey Learn what each one of these verbal feedbacks meant to you, what your perception of this feedback was. And then going forward, Monkey Learn will then look at any new coming feedback and tell you what direction the feedback is going. Is it happy? Is it sad? Is it frustrated? The various things you put in. Or Monkey Learn can rely on its very vast database of information on customer feedback and give you what it sees as the customer sentiment coming from what's happening. And of course, that's recorded when, this phone call is being recorded for training purposes, right? So that's what this phone call is being recorded for training purposes can be used for. It's not just a human listening to it, of course, it's monkey learn listening to it. Because monkey learn uses natural language processing to understand and listen to what people are saying on the phone, then to apply it against either your internal model or an external model and give you out some very powerful, actionable things to do. Let me talk about what some of those actionable things to do are. Changing the script in the way people talk to customers, right? That you think about A/B testing on scripts. When a customer calls in, hey, it turns out when you use these words every time they called in, they were really pissed. And when you use these other words, they were delighted. So I'm grossly simplifying it, right? But that is the entire intent of sentiment analysis. So that gives your team and your business an incredible advantage and a leg up on trying to understand what the feedback actually means. Another one, and this could be a several hour presentation on this topic alone, but I'd at least like to get you going on it. I can't see everybody's face. Let me move. If everyone wants to turn on your camera if you feel comfortable doing it, I'm going to ask you another question, and it's a fist or five. 0 means I know nothing. 5 means I'm really savvy about this subject. How do you feel about robotic process automation? Just put your hand up. I don't know anything. I know tons. Fingers up. So 0, 0. Okay. And some people don't have their cameras on. They're doing their email. Hopefully not. Okay. Let me explain what robotic process automation is. And I gave this talk at a Vistage group a couple of weeks ago, and I said something. You have to be careful when you say something like this, but I'll tell you the words I used. Why don't you know this? I know that sounds really insulting, and I don't mean it to, because the reason you don't know this is because you're really busy and you're doing all kinds of other things, and you know other things that are not on this page, right? But here's the point about robotic process automation, and the next 2 tools I'm going to show you after this. Robotic process automation has nothing to do with a physical robot, despite that picture. It is software that will automate all of the steps you want to follow in a business if they can be written down. So if you can write down, look for an email from this person, if it includes this information, put it in the CRM. If it doesn't, delete the email, empty the trash, take the thing from the CRM, put it into the spreadsheet, consolidate the spreadsheet into a pie chart, and send it to Jim. If you can write all that stuff down, robotic process automation can do that. And the way you program robotic process automation is by clicking on the various applications that you're using, telling it what to do, right? Testing it to make sure that it works. And then this process runs every time something happens. So if that something is an email comes in, or better yet, you have a customer service agent on the phone and someone say orders a certain combination of services, you can have a robotic process automation bot. As soon as you say, place new order for iPhone, it can go order iPhone, do this, check address, do all the stuff that needs to happen while the agent is still talking to the person on the phone. So there's still personal engagement. So the point of robotic process automation, and this technology is mature, up and running, and stable. It was really effectively mature in about 2016. So we're 9 years from when it was first coined as the term robotic process automation. And on the left-hand side, I've given you 6 of the companies that do this incredibly well. And those 6, and I put them not exactly in the order I would recommend them. UiPath is the gold standard, but for small, medium businesses, Power Automate from Microsoft is the least expensive. And there's all kinds of great training online to use Power Automate. UiPath, you need to be more technically oriented. And all of them now have AI supplements to them. So not only are they doing a specific process, one of the steps might be go out to the internet and evaluate the pricing. Let me give you an example. So you say, every Monday, check the inventory of a certain product in your company. And if the inventory is below a certain threshold, go out and buy more. You can use an AI tool that says, if the inventory is low, go out to 3 vendors. Look at all 3 vendors, check the prices of the 3 vendors, place the order against one of the whichever vendor you prefer to have it done by. Or you could have it say, go out to the internet and find out, is there any negative feedback from any of our vendors that we should be aware of? And let's change to another vendor. All of that is happening with robotic process automation. So think, how many jobs in your company have many repetitive write downable, recordable tasks that are really wasting the IQ and the motivation of the people doing them. That is what robotic process automation can do. When it's at its best, I'm going to show you an example from a company called NICE in a minute. You may all know that from the CX space. I'm going to give you an example of how the robot makes the agent look like a rock star, meaning the human being look like a rock star. So those are a couple of tools I wanted to cover. Then you get to a company called Zapier. I won't ask you on each one of these if you know what they are. This is another incredibly powerful technology. Now, the difference in robotic process automation, the way you make it happen, you sit down on your computer and you walk through the actual process you would do if you were doing it on the screen. Click on Chrome, click on Word, click on Excel, click on HubSpot or Zoho or whatever, and you tell it what to do. In the case of Zapier, they've built all kinds of integrations to all these existing applications. So they've already made the connections between the many, like hundreds, and the next tool I'm going to show you, it's thousands of different applications, which means as you're setting up the automation, it already knows how to interface with those individual applications. So the number of things you can do with Zapier to create a Zap, right? If it used to be called a tweet, now anyway, a Zap is like a little automation that it does. The number of those is limitless because of the different applications. But it can do a combination of AI, meaning it's interpreting. So you say, find the most competitive combinations of products and services for me to get my event to happen. That means a hotel, a this, a this, a this. It goes out and finds all that information and pulls it back. Robotic process automation is following very specific steps. There's some if-thens in there, right? It can do a little if-then conditional stuff, but it's basically following very specific scripts. Zapier uses much more AI to be able to interpret what's happening in the world. And I just picked a diagram. It's got Shopify up there, Word, Excel, Zoho, Salesforce, right? These are all these different things you can interact with. Now, the key is you need to know what the process steps that people are actually following. So what are people doing that needs to be automated or made go faster, right? Because you just say, well, this is a great tool, but the first thing you have to do is find out what people are actually doing. And later we're going to talk about what's the barrier to finding out what people are really doing. And the barrier is fear, right? Because if you say, show me what you're doing, I've got this wonderful automation, you can imagine what happens with that. Okay, another tool. All right, Sean, I don't know if we can get a video to play. Should we try to do it and see if it works?
Does it have audio?
It does. You think it's going to work, or should we skip it?
Did you choose when you did share? There's a little checkbox on the right that says share audio.
I'll tell you what I can do. I can stop sharing and then go back and share, and we'll do both.
Let's
right?
do that.
But first, let me explain what this is. So, NICE is one of the examples of robotic process automation, and it's one of my favorite companies in the world. I have no financial commitment to or connection with any of these companies, by the way, but it's one of my favorite companies in the world because of their technology. The leadership team of their business is incredible. They do pretty amazing things. They are combining robotic process automation with AI in a way that goes from the beginning of a very complicated transaction to the very end. We'll see if we can get it to work, and if it doesn't, that's okay. I was prepared for it not working. And let me do a quick check on time. Okay, so I'm going to do a quick jump out. Okay, you guys can all see that, right?
Platform designed as a one-stop shop for managing all aspects of customer interactions within a contact center. It is the first and only completely cloud-native platform with an AI-centric focus to streamline and personalize customer interactions across various channels like voice, chat, email, and social media. NICE CX1 improves operational efficiency and customer satisfaction by delivering more positive and consistent customer experiences tailored to customer behavior and preferences. Let's see how NICE CX1 can transform the customer journey in auto insurance claims processing with the help of generative conversational AI, self-service, predictive AI, and IoT. Meet Mia, a tech-savvy corporate lawyer who owns a Tesla. While waiting at a traffic light, she's rear-ended by a distracted driver. Thankfully, Mia's Tesla is equipped with an IoT device that instantly alerts her insurance company through NICE CX1's AI solution, NICE Enlighten. Within seconds, Mia receives a proactive message from the insurance bot, checking if everything is okay, offering to dispatch emergency services. Based on Mia's request, the bot sends emergency services and first aid to her current location in less than 30 minutes. Simultaneously, NICE CX1, which is integrated with the insurance application, opens a case for the insurance claim. The chatbot continues to chat with Mia and asks to upload photos of the damage. Mia uploads the photos to her insurance app account and clicks to proceed with the claim. With Mia's permission, the bot facilitates communication with a live agent, John, who already has all the details on the screen, including accident information, previous conversations, photos uploaded through the insurance app, and Mia's account details. This seamless transition saves Mia time and eliminates the need to repeat information. John verifies any missing details and quickly sends them to the auto partner for verification. The agent then tells Mia that she is eligible for a full claim, and her claim has been approved. John informs that Mia's claim will be reflected in her account within 3 to 5 business days. The agent disposes of the call, and a post-interaction summary powered by NICE Enlighten is generated and sent to the insurance application. NICE CX1 offers a flexible modular design, allowing you to choose the specific features your business needs. Contact Servion, a NICE CX1 partner, to learn more about the features, explore try and buy offer, and schedule a complimentary proof of concept.
Okay, good. So my point in showing you that is because that's a great combination of all the things it does. Robotic process automation is embedded in the background. It's application integration, just like I showed you on the previous tool. It's natural language processing and recognition when the person can either talk into their phone or type it into their phone. And then the most important part, I think, is where it stops, and it's called attended automation. And attended automation is where it says, I need a human here, right? I need a human. So it can do all this other stuff that's not really all that high skill level. But when it comes to negotiating, empathy, really thinking through what the issues were, that's where the human steps in. So the agent needs to fully understand what's going on in the process. It's not like they just sit in a little corner, but they also are only brought in at the points that the human being needs to do it. Overall experience to the customer, it's faster. The person they talk to is there for the right reasons. They're not being put on hold waiting for something to happen because the automations are doing those things in the background. So that's just an example. NICE is a company any of us can work with to get these kinds of things integrated. And that's real world stuff. That's not theory. That's actually out there making it happen. Okay, and I'm going to go through just a couple of these and then we'll get to some Q&A, right? So we can talk about what's what. This is one of my favorites, and it's called Lindy.ai. Meet your AI assistant. Beware of the term AI assistant or AI agent. That's another kind of vague term right now that people haven't put their hands fully around. Be curious, but don't be too bought into what they say. So Lindy.ai does the following things, and I'm sorry these are small, but I wanted to put all of these on here. So it's custom AI agents. Users can design the personal AI agents to do what they want them to do. And it's unbelievably wide open what you can have an agent actually do. Handle your emails, make reports, process invoices, all the various things you want them to do, because Lindy, like the tool I just showed you before, or 2 tools ago, can connect to all these different applications. So once you tell it what to do, I got an invoice in the door, process it. I got a request for marketing, send out bids to all my standard marketing companies to come back with a presentation. Anything like that, Lindy can do for you. Omni-channel communication, so it can interact through email, messaging apps, voice commands, all that for effectively seamless communication. Meeting management, this is another one of those tools that can help you schedule things, but it can also attend your meetings, record the information. And then I was on a call recently with a venture capitalist, and after the call, he sent me his Lindy update. And his Lindy update took a 45-minute call and summarized it into the key points, right? Not just a transcript, but here are the key points. Maybe you're all already using those kind of tools, but that's another one that Lindy actually does. Email automation, of course, it can process the way the emails come in, et cetera. And then knowledge-based integration. So it can go out, Lindy can go out to the various places where your information is stored, use AI to interpret that and bring back a summation of the information or a prediction of what you may want to do. So again, the limited time on the call, but what Lindy AI can do is mind-blowing when it comes to all that grunt work of going out trying to find information. And it has a workflow automation platform. So, and all of these tools, almost all these tools have a free, you can get on and test them for free, right? So you don't have to go spend a bunch of money. If you're going to work with NICE, it's a high scale company, so you're going to have to spend some time talking to them. So I'm going to walk you through some fast case examples just to prove that these things are working and what they do. The first one I chose happens to be one that I actually executed and implemented. So it's a mobile phone company in Sweden. It's a Swedish telecom company. They employed intelligent automation and RPA to improve customer service. But let me just be specific what they did. The goal was to shorten the call with the customer and reduce the frustration, right? To give them a solution as fast as they could get it. They used NICE as an intelligent automation tool and an agent to do it. But let's talk about what they did. When the phone rings, the NICE tool was able to recognize the phone, go back through the records of the company or the client calling in, look at anomalies that were within the records of the client. So if it's a mobile phone company, mobile phone customer, and their average bill is $100 a month, and because 100, 110, 90, 120, whatever, and then suddenly it goes to $300 a month, the tool is able to look for anomalies and predict to the agent on a pop-up screen, they are probably calling about their cell phone bill in August. And the reason they're calling is because their bill went to 300 euros or $300, 300 euros in this case, went to 300 euros. And then from 300 euros, what's the reason? It's because they streamed a movie in a hotel somewhere in Spain, right? It's able to do all of that while the agent is just picking up the phone to say hello. So that's called attended automation, the ability to actually look into what's going with the client and give information to the agent so they can act. That's exactly what they did. The automation suggested solutions and scripts. What can you actually say to a person in this circumstance, right? Especially if there's a company policy around, do you refund 4 GB downloads from vacation or not? The outcome, they cut customer service response time by 70%, and they improved customer satisfaction in their NPS by 42%. Those are big ass numbers, right? And that's a big deal if you can achieve something like that. So why does it work? Attended automation, which combines AI and RPA together to be able to make that happen. So that's an example of real world stuff of how these tools can actually function. Sean, I'm looking at the time. I got 37 after the hour. Are we stopping at 45?
No, we can go through to the end of the hour if we need to, for sure.
Okay, and I'll base that on anybody on the phone, and especially when we get to questions. I'm going to do a question session in a minute, but if you got one on this, just flag that a little bit, and we'll come back to it. Here's another case on Hilton Hotels. So Hilton Hotels used a tool they call Connie. It's always a good idea to name your tool some great name because it makes them seem more human, right? The goal is to provide guests with instant personalized responses to inquiries about hotel amenities, local attractions, and booking details. What is that called? Anybody got a name for that? I think it's called a concierge, right? So that's the hotel concierge, to be able to answer that question, but to be able to answer it real time, 24 hours a day, and to be informed by the full range of things that are both in the hotel and in the environment, right? So to be able to get on and say, hey, I'm thinking about staying at I think this is the Hilton in Tel Aviv. I look for one with a cool beach. So this is I've never been to the Hilton in Tel Aviv, but I think that's what this is. So anyway, so you want to go and see, tell me what's going on. Where can I find the best, I don't know, hummus or whatever you find in Tel Aviv? Where do I get these various things? And that chatbot is able to provide that information at much more depth than the concierge could do at 2 a.m., especially if you're flying to Tel Aviv from a place that's outside the time zone. So that's the power of being able to do that. By automating the interactions, Hilton reduced front desk staff workload by 25%, which means they're not rushed when they're talking to the next person checking in, right? They're actually being able to handle the human in a human way rather than being rushed, and improved response times by 60%. So directly CX related stuff. How do you make this work? And the chatbots now, the verbal chatbots, are so good that they use AI-generated voices as well if you want them. They can also give it to you in text, of course, but it'll come back to you. Is anybody, you don't have to answer this, but if you haven't gone on to ChatGPT and used the verbal version of it, where you say, hey, chat, I'm looking for a hotel in Tel Aviv. I know I picked a wrong city given the geopolitical politics right now. But I'm looking for a hotel in the following city. Can you give me 3 options that fall between the whatever $100 and X $100 range? And it'll come back to you with a voice and give you the answer. And it's good. The voices are really good. So powerful stuff if you haven't already done that. And if you haven't implemented it in your own country, you can see how strong it is. So the outcome was 24/7 service, instant responses, and reduced time. Okay. So here's another one. This is Coca-Cola. Now, this one it's a good example, but it's not the same stuff. It's not what makes my blood, just all bubbly. Coca-Cola implements an AI-powered CRM automation tool. Well, the outcome of this was to analyze millions of customers' interactions and generate hyper-personalized marketing campaigns. Is that good for customer service? I don't know. I mean, at least the customers got what they wanted, right? But the real driver on this one was to improve sales, right? It resulted in a 35% increase in customer engagement, yay, and a 20% boost in sales, which of course is why they did this, for predictive recommendations and automated follow-ups. So that's another powerful example of being able to bring in that information and be able to drive both engagement and customer follow-up. Why does it work? An AI-powered CRM tool predicts the customer preferences, personalized recommendations, etc. Now, I would say the human side comes in, right? When that's great, the AI generates all this stuff, but wouldn't it be better if a human being calls the customer and says, hey, how about these things? So you're using all the AI generated recommendations and preferably delivering those via a human being. So again, empowering humans to be heroes and robots to be robots. Okay. So United Healthcare, another completely different example. The healthcare group implemented AI-driven predictive analytics to identify risk patients and proactively engage them. So think about this, the colonoscopy, the high blood pressure test, the cholesterol. Think of the impact on people's lives and on people's, of course, we all know the worst healthcare costs are when people are really sick or when they're really old. And when they're really sick and when they're really old is when they start forgetting things and they start forgetting to do the things they need to be able to do to stay healthy. So United, of course, knows that. And so does, if you've worked with Kaiser's incredibly good at the same thing. So it's good for everybody. The customer lives longer and United gets to spend less money on people who come in with a crisis. So personalized healthcare recommendations, all driven by AI to flag early warning signs, et cetera, right? So how is it doing that? It's looking at all the data from the patients. Think about this in any business you're involved in. If you think about the information from what your business is, and you know what the outcomes are, right? And you can say, when this happened, when this happened, that happened. That's called the training part of an AI model, of a large language model. And then when you apply it to your actual business going forward, it is able to use that incredible analytical power and say, hey, the last 15 times this happened, this is what happened, right? And that gives you the analytics to move forward. Okay, let's see. I'm not going to use the Morgan Stanley, which is not that interesting. It's about fraud, so we can skip that. All right, so I've been talking pretty straight for 30 minutes. Let's stop, and I'd love to hear it. I'm going to talk slowly, but I'm about to ask you to say something. So shift out of the listen mode and shift into the, I got some thoughts, some insights. Two questions, right? What challenges are you facing in efficiency and customer service? And where do you see potentially AI fitting in your business? Or even better, if you got a cool example to share with the people on the call, I think everybody would love to hear that. So either one of those 2 questions, just stick your hand up in the air if you want to answer. If your camera's not on, that's probably not going to work. So if you stick your hand up and say something, that would be great. I don't think you need to hear me talk just for 45 minutes.
While we're waiting for someone to put their hand up, and if you reminder to do that, the react button at the bottom of the screen, you can raise your hand there. But Chris, I mean, this was awesome because I know that, some research we recently completed, it said that, effort is everything these days. And when things are hard for a customer to accomplish, think about all those broken processes and steps, they're 13 times more likely to be disloyal. When it's easy, they're 12 times more likely to be loyal. So this effort and using the tools to bridge the gaps that we as humans, have within our more traditional services is just an incredible opportunity. So Andrea, you see your hands up.
Hi. Yeah, my name is Andrea Pruna. I own a small business. It's a coffee shop in New Hampshire, and I've been using AI tremendously. It's been like my sidekick, especially for marketing messaging. And we have a ton of Google reviews. So understanding back to the sentiment, where are the areas where customers are like sort of commenting the positive things and maybe things that where we have opportunities for improvement. So it's just a collector of all the data and then helping you analyze, but also giving you other ideas. Sometimes we get too stuck and not thinking too much outside the box. And it like even with marketing ideas and messages, especially abandoned checkouts online, how to sort of bring those back and create onboarding experiences for these customers. It's been phenomenal. So ChatGPT is insane. Just go in and play, ask any random question.
Can we all just say that every time you go into ChatGPT and say something? My wife is so sick and tired of hearing me say this, and I'm always like, I can't freaking believe it does that. I can't even believe it does. So I recently, like your coffee shop, for example, if you take your phone and you scan your coffee shop on your phone and then say to ChatGPT, how would you reorganize this so I could seat 4 more people? It will give you a floor plan.
Yes. Yep. And the good thing about it, it's also for those that are marketers and writing on content, it starts as you correct ChatGPT, it starts learning what your tone of voice should be. So then you don't have to work as hard. Like at the beginning, it's like, oh, you're too sassy. Well, that's not my tone. That's not my voice. That's not my brand voice. It's more friendly. It's more knowledgeable. It's fascinating. It's incredible. So I highly encourage everyone to go and play around.
Fantastic. So I'll give you some advice. My son is actually now a venture capital guy. So he looks at all these AI things coming in the door. And one day he said to me, hey, what I would suggest you tell your listeners when you're giving a talk is don't use Google for a week. Just go to ChatGPT. Now, of course, there's some examples where you need Google, like what's the opening time of the restaurant down the street or whatever. That's fine, right? But just go to ChatGPT first because it'll break the pattern of going into Google, which of course is trying to use AI as well. But for anybody out there, if you're not using ChatGPT regularly, try to not, and remember, it's free. Go to the free ChatGPT and just type that stuff in. Crazy, weird things. This weekend, I am making a box, a wooden crate, to ship a dollhouse to my daughter. And I say, how many sheets of plywood do I have to buy and how would I cut it? And I thought, well, I could sit down and calculate all this. I went on ChatGPT and said, dollhouse is this big. Not only give me the pieces, give me how to cut them out of a 4x8 sheet of plywood, where to make I couldn't believe it. And out came the answer. So the world is your oyster, right? On doing that. Okay, any other questions? Any other input anybody's got? I got a couple things about how to do this in a deployment way. What do you do? What are some good suggestions of how to move forward? Ways I have seen successfully to implement this if you're not already implementing them at scale. If everyone's not implementing them at least a little bit right now themselves, you're behind. Get busy. But there's a difference between implementing yourself and then systematically rolling it out, right, to the business. And that's where the resistance can, because you're going to get all excited, right? You're going to go into ChatGPT and do something fun, and you're going to say to whoever's near you for the 50th time, I can't believe what ChatGPT just did. But that's not the same thing as systematically rolling it out. Anybody have any other points? How they're using it, what their thoughts are? Is everyone listening?
Yeah, I think we're good.
When the camera's not on, you never know, right? Okay, I want to take you to a couple of points. If you raise your hand or say something, I'm all about it, and hopefully I'll see it. If I don't, Sean will. All right, this is going to be better read, so send me that email and you can go through it because I'm going to have to go through it kind of fast. So what's a roadmap for implementing AI? Now, this is 30 years of me stumbling, scarring my hands and knees and breaking glass and all the other stuff to implement this stuff. So that's where I'm basing this. And here's some key points, right? Identifying the AI opportunities in your business. That starts with, it's a ping pong game. And the ping pong game looks like this. If these are or pickleball, I guess I could use now in today's world. So imagine this is a pickleball match between two people. What can an AI tool do? Is that the place to start? Or should you start with, what challenges do I have in my business? That's where I would start. What would I love to be able to do in 1/10 the time? Right? Start with that. And then you say, well, what can do that? So you hit the ball across the net. You go, well, let's go look at a tool that can help me do whatever, in 1/10 of the time. And then it comes back again because you fix that, right? And then you say, well, if I can do that, what if I can do this? And it goes back and forth and back and forth. And as it's going back and forth, your business is getting better and better and advancing forward and forward. So identifying the opportunities should not start with what can AI do? It should start with what do you currently do in your business? But it's quickly going to go to when you suddenly realize, well, I didn't know I could do that. If I knew I could do that, I would have told you this. And it's going to continue to accelerate. So that's what that is. Steps to start AI adoption. I'm going to walk you through those in just a second. And I'm going to give you very little, but in my opinion, the plutonium of managing change, and plutonium in a positive way, in this case, of managing change management. All right. So here are some pretty quick steps on how I would suggest, if you're not already rolling this out in your small or medium business, it doesn't matter what scale it is at this point. It's just a question of how many people are involved. So the first thing is defining those business objectives. Why are you even doing this? And if it's because it's cool and neat and people think it's fun, that's that's not a good idea. It should be, what's this going to do for my customer? What's going to do for my business? Can it reduce risk is another thing you can throw in there. But if there's not a good reason to do it, then go do something that's more important, right? So identify the challenges, the inefficiencies, align the initiatives if you're doing more than one. Critical. Second one, assess readiness and data infrastructure. Data infrastructure sounds so big and formal. It basically means, for example, in Andrea's position, her data infrastructure consisted of every Google review that ever came into the company. Right? That is your data infrastructure. Can you get those Google reviews, put them into a file, and have them analyzed? So they can be as simple as that, or it can be as complicated as every order we placed to all of our suppliers for the past 5 years, right? That could be your data infrastructure. So you have to know simply, because with no data, you can't really do anything with AI, right? And then ensure you have the actual IT infrastructure and tools in place. Fortunately, most of these tools are available in the cloud. You can download some of them, and especially some of the newer ones, but you can do most of this in the cloud, so you don't have to worry about hardware. All right, second piece, identify high impact use cases. Everyone should probably know the term moment of truth. So in customer experience, what is a moment of truth? It's when the customer has an opportunity to think Andrea's coffee shop sucks or it's fantastic. That is a moment of truth. Right? Whether it's in the purchasing process, whether it's in the drinking the coffee process, whatever. So I would say focus on those first and then go looking for the high ROIs. So you want those quick wins, right? I mean, it's standard stuff, but don't go down somebody's weird idea. Make sure it actually has some payoff. All right, select the tools and partners. There's a lot more infrastructure and or time that required in that. Let me be specific. Everyone on the planet seems to think they can talk to you about AI. I'm talking to you about AI. It's going to be a combination of you knowing a little bit about what's going on and finding the people who happen to know what can help you. So, it's like anything. If you're going to a store, going to go to a mall, you're going to buy stuff from the people you trust and believe. So, kick the tires a little bit. And if somebody 2 months ago was a consulting expert on concrete management, and now they're an AI expert, maybe that's not the right person to talk to. Find people who have some, kind of background to it and have actually done some of this, right? Have implemented some stuff in businesses. So that's a partner piece. Again, you're going to get all these pages when you email me, so don't worry about it. Or you can do screen captures if you want to. Pilot and test the solutions. Of course, do this stuff small, especially in the robotic process automation space and in the Lindy tools I mentioned earlier. Start with something really simple, like open all emails from Sean, stick them in a folder. You can do that with your tool anyway. Or you could say, open all the email from Sean, read the email, give me a 3 bullet point summary, and then write a pithy response to Sean. You can do that too, right? Very simple, just to test it to see if it works, because then it'll get everybody comfortable, right? And then get the feedback from what's going on and how's it working. You can also test there's an enormous number of models you can use. Perplexity, of course, is a big one. ChatGPT is one everybody's familiar with. Those are my two favorite, ChatGPT and Perplexity. Perplexity, I think, is the most has most integrity, as in what they do with your data, etc. All right. Train the employees, foster adoption. We could spend a lot of time on that. The change management, of course, is a huge issue. Scale and optimize, slowly rolling that stuff out, monitoring the performance. So this sounds like a big deal, but it would be true for a 10-person business as it would be for a 10,000-person business. You just reduce the scale of each one of the individual pieces. And then this one is also really important, especially when you're using personal information, right? So make sure compliance and the ethical use of this stuff is in sync, which is why I would avoid anything that has to do with compliance and ethical stuff in the beginning. Cross that bridge when you've already got your chops and you're good at what you're doing with AI. Just don't go in, hey, let's exchange social security numbers and health records. Yeah, not initially, right? All right, here's the big point I want to make. This is my single theme on the change management piece. On the left-hand side is a person doing something that I think we should be aiming all of our employees to be doing. On the right-hand side, in the words of Henry David Thoreau, most employees live to a greater or lesser degree in a world of quiet desperation. They are miserable. They don't tell you that all the time. They don't really love their job. They're doing their job because it's their job. Some rare percentage of people love their boss, love their job, love their company, and those people have won the lottery in life. But the vast majority of people have some version of quiet desperation. But an even smaller minority are on the left-hand side of this picture, and they're on a hero's journey. And that hero's journey sounds like this in the AI world. They're living their normal life, and they get a call to adventure. And the call to adventure is, I could learn these new AI tools, and I could grow as a person and be a more valuable professional and have a more rewarding life. Oh my God, it's scary. What if I fail and look like an idiot? Oh, well, I got to do something. Well, and then they get forced into it, right? And then maybe a mentor comes along, and that mentor helps them understand these AI tools. And then they start overcoming more challenges, but then it gets really scary because it gets real. And then they face their own form of a dragon. And that dragon is the fear of failure. It's the fear of irrelevance. It's the fear of blowing up your career and your life. And once they face that fear and realize it really is just fear, and they overcome that, then they come back to their job and they've learned these great, powerful skills. And they say, hey, it wasn't that hard. And everyone else starts to get motivated too, because, hey, if they can do it, Andrea hated technology and now she's all over it. So if Andrea can do it, I can do it, right? So anyway, the hero's journey is that loop. There's a lot of documentation on that. I'm happy to spend more time on it. That is where we need to be helping people feel. Because if they're not on a hero's journey and they're in quiet desperation, and of course there's a bunch of things in between those two, you're not getting the most out of the people. And they're not getting the most out of you or their jobs or their lives. So change management, I would summarize into those. It's not that simple, but for the sake of time, we're trying to get people on hero's journeys, ourselves included, which means overcoming fear, learning new skills, moving forward. Okay. So of course, I'm on this call because I wrote a book on this subject, right? And I wrote a book, it was published in 2021. The heavy, heavy emphasis of my book. By the way, if you want my book, email me and I will send it to you electronically for free. So this is not a sales pitch, but if you like to buy it because you like paper, that's great. You can do that on Amazon. But what I drew out of all these years of screwing this up and getting it right, preferably more right than screwing up, were these 7 consistent things people do to implement technology well. It just happened to be 7. I didn't pick that number magically. I'll be happy to walk you through those, take you through whatever time you need to go through. And again, I'll send you the book if you send me an email so you can read it. The technology part in my book is not as current as this presentation, but all the other stuff, the most important part about the human beings is totally there, totally up to date. So key takeaways. Look at the clock. I got 60 seconds. I'm done. So AI's impact on efficiency and CX, monumental. It is changing the world, and in my opinion, mostly for the better and less for the worse. The action items for implementation, you're going to get out of the slides when you get them from me. And there's my contact information. I think I finished right on time. So send me an email to chris@nobleautomationnow.com. Sean, I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak to the community. And I know you're going to record this and send it out to the people who register and then somehow have to feed their cat. So it is what it is.
Yeah.
That's all I got.
Chris, thank you so much for such a great session. Like I said, very extremely important for us to really think about. And as you said, thinking more about what do we want the experience to be? What do we want to accomplish? Not what tool did I see and trying to, square peg round hole. Because what we want to accomplish, if we can't find a technology that can do it today, by tomorrow it'll be working. Basically, we're at that kind of momentum. So thank you very much for joining. I'll send out some information about this and recap as well as Chris's information and a link to the recording once it's available. And we'll continue that and reach out to Chris for more information. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everybody. Happy to be here. Take care.